Hello, I've tried growing mushrooms in a medium of manure in a bath in the shed behind me, but I've not had great success. So I'm going to try growing mushrooms in logs to see if I have any better luck that way. We've got some logs dropped off in the chipping bay, and they are not pine from the leaves. They look like beech or something similar. These are leaves. There's a mixture of leaves, but there's no conifer amongst them, so they're definitely not pine. So they'll be fine for mushrooms. And I've taken a few, and I'm going to use these for putting mushroom plugs in. So I've got 4 good sized pieces. I'll measure them and work out how many I can put into each one. The nettles in this corner have gone absolutely berserk, as tall as me, some of them. So I need to get this lot sorted out. Right, this corner that was full of nettles is cleared. Now, these pipes I brought all this other rubbish. It's been here, and because it's sort of boundary between the 2 plots, and it is quite sloping ground, and it's full of things like broken glass and metal, bits and pieces of metal that I can't even move, and you know, rubbish like this, logs and all sorts. So this is cleared of nettles, but they put up a good fight. Got a few stings in, and normally I don't react to nettles, but I think they stung me so many times my skin's reacting. But yeah, I can get to this corner now. So what I'm going to do is all the old carpet that I'll find. We've got nowhere to put it at the moment. There's no skips for a few months, so I'll chuck all that stuff over here. But I'll be putting the logs here, so what I'm going to do is rake up some of this rubbish, because the logs need to be in touch with the soil. Of course, there's all the old rotten old bits of carpet, and this one seems to be quite popular because it's in this corner of the plot and it's at the other end as well, and I find it all the way in between, so I must have liked it. And lots of broken glass. But all I'm going to do here is put the mushroom logs, so I'm not too worried. Big pieces like that I'll take away, but the odd little piece like that, not worried about that, because there's only going to be mushroom logs here. Never going to be going digging in this, so not too worried. So before I put the logs here, I'll bring in those old bits of carpet. So all this stuff that I pulled up will get in that corner for now, and then when we get a skip day I can get rid of them. The logs need to be in touch with the soil, so I'm going to put them here in this bare patch. There's still a bit of rotten old carpet under this soil, but as soon as I touch it, it all falls apart. And look at it, it's layers and layers of it. So yeah, obviously this is not going to be any good for cultivation, seeing as it's in a shady corner, but for mushroom logs it's perfect for that. Just going to use this for the logs. So I've already cleaned it up. I'm just going to put some bricks at this level and some more down here, and then I can put something to cover the logs so they're not out in the open under the bright sunlight like today. I had a couple of pieces left over from when I built the walk-in vegetable cage, so I'm going to use one of those pieces here. So the longest log is about 1 meter, which is from those bricks I've just put up to basically the bottom of these bricks. So if I put some more bricks here, that would be just right. So bricks here. Put some bricks, and I'm really not bothered that they're not the best looking bricks. Doesn't have to be anything too fancy, as long as it can support the weight of this piece of fencing that will go in there. And then I can put some shade cloth over the top of that, and that will allow rain through, but it will stop too much light getting through, so that'll do the job. These logs were probably okay, but they were cut in December and they've got these little marks on them, so I was a bit wary of, because they've been sitting around for 6 months. It just looks like they've already got some sort of fungus in them, so I'm not going to use them. I'm going to use the new ones. Right, well, we've got these logs delivered to the allotments and were freshly cut with a load of chippings. So I've got this big one, and then I've got the 2 smaller ones, and I've calculated how much we need to put in each log. They're in good nick. I mean, they've got a few bumps and scratches, and that's all bits of climbing ivy that was stuck to it, but that'll just come off. But they're reasonable. I mean, they're not perfect, but then I'll have to take what I get. Oak would be ideal, but we don't get oak. Got 30 oyster plugs and 30 shiitake plugs. Now, they do come with instructions, but I've looked around on the internet as well, and there's a lot of conflict. Some say do it this way, some say do it the other way, some say put it in plastic, some say don't put it in plastic. So don't do what I do. Don't follow exactly what I do, because I'm just going and trying to make the best of all the things I've read. This is how I'm doing it, and I would mostly follow these instructions, but the step of putting it in plastic bags, I'm going to skip that. Well, not skip it, but I'll do something else instead. The 30 oyster ones will go in this big log, and I'll split the 30 shiitake plugs between these 2 logs. You've got to leave 15 centimeters between holes, and I've measured the length and diameter of these logs, and I've worked out that I'll need 5 rows of 6 holes, leaving 5 centimeters at either end and 15 centimeters between each hole. Okay, so I've just marked the holes, so it's going to be 6 holes along and 5 rows, and the next holes will be staggered, so they will be not here, but the next hole will be here, so they're staggered. So, turn it around, and roughly there. I mean, it doesn't have to be millimeter perfect, so I'm not going to measure everything again. Now that I've got the first set, I can just quickly do the others. Okay, so I've marked the 5 rows and I've staggered them, so there's a hole there, there's a hole there, the next one's going to be there, so it's halfway in between these 2, and then that one's going to be there. Time to open up the plugs and put them in. They don't smell of anything. Right, the instructions say use a 10mm drill. I think I might be a bit big. It looks a bit big, but we'll see. I put a stopper on it so it doesn't go too deep. The instructions say make it the same depth as the plugs. Some instructions I've read on the internet say make it deeper than the plugs to give the mycelium a bit of room to grow. So I've averaged the 2, so I've not left as much as the instructions on the internet said, so I've sort of averaged it out. So on the internet it said to leave about 5 centimeters. I've left about 2.5 centimeters, so we'll see what happens. The first one I put in has gone straight in, dropped straight in, so I'll try a slightly smaller one, or not going as deep. That's because some of the stuff got stuck in there. That's perfect. Okay, so now that this row is drilled, it's easy enough just to put the mushrooms in, push them in. Okay, so that first row is done. Oops, I missed one. Put those in. Okay, that first row's in. Now for the next row. Just turn it around. And the procedure is exactly the same with these Oyster plugs. So I'm not going to bore you with all the details of drilling holes and things. But it's exactly the same. Just take them out, put them in the holes. Right, that's all the plugs put in. So the next stage is to seal it with wax. The logs are ready, and I've got an old candle that I don't use, and an old sweet corn tin that I've cleaned out, and I've got an old brush for dabbing the wax onto the logs. Unfortunately, it's looking like rain. I was just about to go and borrow a heater, but yeah, it started raining. Eventually it stopped raining, so I borrowed a camping stove from a neighbour for melting the wax. The wax seals the holes so that other fungi can't get in. Otherwise, they would compete with the fungi in the mushroom plugs, and I could end up getting weird mushrooms coming up. Right, I've sealed all the holes with wax, and I've also sealed all the cuts. Now these look a little bit clumsy because I was getting to the end and I was rushing to get things done. But the holes where the plugs are in are sealed. I haven't sealed the ends because some people say seal the ends, some people say don't seal the ends. So I haven't sealed the ends. But those are done, so they can go in that corner. Okay, the logs are done. Now reading the instructions again that came with these plugs, it says put them in the plastic sheets. Other people have said don't put it into plastic sheets. So I'm not going to put them into plastic sheets, but what I will do is cut some of those privet and put some of that on top of this, and then put this piece of fencing on top of it. So these privet cuttings will just provide a bit of shade for these logs. I need a bit more. Right, well I've covered this with privet. Now I'll just put this fencing on top, and that will stop the leaves blowing away, and it will also stop rodents and things, or bigger animals coming in and deciding to dig it out. And I might put a bit more privet on top. Well, that's the mushroom logs sorted. Only time will tell if they work. In the next video I'll be making some more protective nets to protect the crops from birds. So goodbye for now, and come back soon.